You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 1 time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her. Brown skin, love her. Brown. Brown skin, love her. Brown skin, love her. Brown. She my brown skin, love her. Brown skin, love her. Brown. She my brown skin, love her. Brown skin. Hold me down.
Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast, and I'm your host, Greg E. Hill, the culture change agent. I don't know where I'm looking right now, but hey, this is what happens right now because it's the first ever live video podcast, and I'm excited to have my boy Colton Palmer with me, man. So I'm gonna do a snippet. Matter of fact, I don't got a snippet of bio because I don't got a card, so we just gonna jump right into it, man. It's my brother, man. He gonna introduce himself. So, Minority Trailblazer Nation, I need you to do me one thing. I need you to welcome Colton Palmer to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Welcome to the show.
What's good, man? I'm happy to be here. Glad to connect with Greg, man. We go way back to high school, man. I've been keeping up with the podcast and looking forward to my opportunity to, get on and give you my 2 cents.
Yeah, man. So the biggest thing, I'm excited. Let's do it like this. Every show we start the show off with a quote, and I challenge my guests to share one story about how they apply that quote to their everyday life, man. So take us away.
Okay, so one quote that I would say is live with me and stuck with me would be about purpose. I forgot who said it in particular, but it was, you're born twice, the day you're born and then the day you figure out your purpose. And lately I've focused really hard on finding out what my purpose truly is. And I think earlier on, I was, my purpose was always associated with occupation. Mm-hmm. Now I have a better understanding, and I would say a better understanding of what purpose is to me. And that's, living life the right way, doing right by people, but also putting out a positive energy and spiritual presence that can go beyond me and can connect with people.
So what's the moment? Like, and maybe it was a situation in the store. What's the moment that it really clicked? Like, hold up, bro. I'm not doing it wrong, but I'm doing it wrong. So how can I adjust? Like, take us through that moment.
I would say the moment it all kind of clicked for me is when I moved back to Durham. Mm-hmm. I was bouncing around. I was, in Atlanta, then Raleigh, then Charlotte, and back here. And when I got back to Durham, I kind of started to notice that I was talking about money all the time or talking about business all the time. Mm-hmm. And that was never what drove me. It wasn't the money or being rich or anything like that. And I was like, man, something's got to change. And I, just by myself in my thoughts, and I was like, man, I have to shift back to the person I used to be, because that was what gave me, in my opinion, the it factor. You know what I'm saying? The ability to connect with people, to facilitate connections, when I wasn't just thinking about how I'm, paying this bill, or I need this amount of money in my account to be happy, because that wasn't doing anything for me. So that was the moment where it all clicked. And it just so happened to be that I was back, in my Mecca, what I would consider Durham. You know what I'm saying? That's my home base. Mm. And I think the energy of Durham brought that back to me.
And the crazy thing about even this interview and our brotherhood is in a sense where, because even you talk about that depth. I mean, we knew each other in high school. We were friends, but I really didn't experience or see that depth until maybe like a couple years ago, Riverside reunion, right? And then I gave you a book, and you was like, nah, and you actually read it. Like, you was read it, and we had like, I don't know the auspice of the conversation, but he had I think niggas was, I don't know if he cried, but it was some real stuff.
It was deep.
It was
a
lot.
We went deep.
It was me, you, I think Christian, I think JY, but we didn't go deep into stuff. But I was like, oh snap, bro, because I'm a dark skinned dude, y'all know, everybody know. And in high school, it was like, we was cool, but I mean, y'all had y'all thing, like the light skinned dudes, and they're not light skinned, dark skinned thing, but it's like, okay, he a cool cat. I know he's committed to wrestling. Be cool, but it's like even in A&T, like I was the dude at Parties A&T joined me. We did all the great stuff. Then you had NC State, but we never worked together. It was never, and it's just crazy how stuff aligns, but also too, we talk about depth and understanding that moment. And I know you had some stories as well, but that moment really, it changed our relationship in a sense where I was like, yo, like, there's a depth to it. Because I mean, you know, in the day, I always call myself, I'm a very vulnerable guy. I'm open. It's depth. And I'm like, well, I used to see people like yourself on paper. Like, I mean, he's a true dude, but I mean, you flashy guys. Like, yeah, but it's Kappa nature, right? We bros right here. Bros, real niggas, the Kappas, they gonna be doing that. So I'm like, but then just seeing you in that light, like, okay, is another depth. And I try to challenge people like yourself. And that's why I started this show, to get to that next depth, because people need to see that, right? So, I mean, I know you had a story from high school. You said something, we talked about it offline, but jump into that, and then I'm gonna give an overview of where we're gonna go with the show.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people have a skewed perspective of who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like when we were in high school, like a lot of people know that I wrestled. You know, I have 2 older brothers that wrestled, and we were like, you know, kind of had a legacy going at Riverside,
pure legacy,
where we came from. So
state championship legacy, like we're gonna speak on that.
All we did was, you know, winning was the only thing we pushed for. But like, you know, I stayed to myself a lot because, you know, with wrestling, it's the preparation, the cutting weight. You know what I'm saying? You're not always feeling very sociable or anything like that. So I was very much hyper focused on wrestling. When I got to college, of course, wrestling was still a focal point, but then that's when I started to, you know, get on the party scene a little more, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like, and did crave and like the attention and whatnot. And that's where it kind of developed from there. But, you know, my goal wasn't always to be the center of attention, but I would find my way to it in a way. But yeah, the funny story with wrestling that I don't think I've ever told anybody this. So every time when I came into school, you know, every weekend or every week, you know, Monday they put on announcements, you know, so-and-so won the tournament. They were 5-0, whatever. And we had class together, and you'd be like, oh, I know you won this one. Boom. And it was, you know, every week, because I really didn't lose like that. So we, probably the most heartbreaking moment of my wrestling career was my freshman year. I was 74-2 going in the states, ranked number 1 in the state the whole year, get to the semifinals and really just shut down. You know what I'm saying? And it's questionable whether or not, you know, the referee's involvement had some issues, but it should have never got there. So I ended up getting 3rd. And man, I probably cried from the second I stepped off the mat till the next match, you know, and I came back, got 3rd, all that good stuff. But it's crazy, that weekend, that Sunday, I was like, damn, it's going to be on the announcements. And the first person I thought of was Greg is going to look at me and be like, what happened? But he's going to be, I was like, but Greg's going to come with some spunk. And like, man, like I was like, man, he going to make it seem like it ain't even no big deal. And this shit is killing me. Like, I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying? And I remember I got to school that day. They said announcements. I got 3rd, and it wasn't a joke. It wasn't playful, which I thought it was going to be, but it was like, damn, man, that's, you know, you got 3rd. That's legit. You'll win it next year. And I was like, damn, like I just expected niggas to downplay something that was the biggest thing for me in my life. But that wasn't the response I got. It was, you got it next year. And then next year I was undefeated and won states. So that was my Greg Hill moment. When I picture my losing states as a freshman, I didn't see your face next coming to school, because it definitely hurt, but it needed to happen. You know, I don't think I would have been undefeated. I don't think I would have won states as a sophomore if I wouldn't have lost as a freshman.
Yeah, man, that's it's crazy. And as we segue, I always I have a small segment called Find the Post, because I want every interview to kind of have the octave of a relevant convo. So if you think about last week, man, what was one thing, good or bad, that you got from last week, just in general? And I asked every person that, just kind of level set, because I want people to think back. And what did you learn from the moment? It can be anything.
Last week, I would say I got a phone call about an opportunity, something I don't really have experience with. And it's with a university in their athletic department. But I do have experience as an athlete. I do have experience, and my company is in the branding and marketing realm. So I had pieces of the puzzle, but had never really served in the capacity that they're asking me to serve in. So when I was kind of questioning whether or not I wanted to do it, my former coach, who was one of the associate ADs at that particular school, was like, you're perfect for the job. You know, I need your creativity. I need, you know, they don't have a wrestling program, but it's not about wrestling. You know how to connect with people. You know how to engage people, and you know what it's like to be a college athlete. So at that moment, I just immediately, you got to be able to pivot. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you're doing business wise, or whatever you, you know, maybe honed in and focused in on, that may not be the goal, you know, that God has in mind for you long term. Now, it's got you to that moment where someone's presented an opportunity, but you have to be prepared to know to make that pivot, you know what I'm saying, and to go in that direction. You know, I reference all the time David and Goliath's story. It's always, it's perceived as the big guy versus the little guy. You know, the little dude stood up to him, he had courage and all that. But I think that's a misread on the point of that story. I think that story was, you know, David had a slingshot and he was using it every day. God put him in that place at that moment because that was supposed to be his moment, but he had to realize it and actually move on it. You know, a lot of us sit back. We may think we might have opportunity, and we sit back and we're like, I don't know. But you know when you're 100% prepared for what's getting put in front of you. And I felt like with this particular opportunity, I've been an athlete. I worked in branding, marketing. That's what they need from me. And that was, you know, my gut was telling me, go with this. This might be something that you can move towards in the future. So, you know, realizing the moment and moving within the moment, but you know, that attraction is coming to you anyway, if you're welcoming it and if you're, you know, aware to it coming to you. So that was, my move from last week.
Man, that's huge, bro. That's powerful, bro. And we're looking forward. By the time this come out, the announcement will probably be made, but we're gonna keep it locked on this. So let's open it up like this, man. We are actually, which is a great segue to a segment. Before we even enter the first round, I like to have my host, and I typically read their full bios, and people would send me like page, 2 pages, be like, oh, it ain't necessary. No, it is necessary, because in our culture right now, a lot of times we downplay a lot of who we are. It's because if you do, you're not humble, or you're all this other stuff, so you live life small. Some people live life big, but it's like majority of us, we're not showcasing our full greatness, or the people that are great, they like, you playing this, like, go ahead and get it all. So I want this to be a moment, and it's going to give context through the whole interview to kind of brag on yourself, some things that you accomplished. And we're going to get to the lessons learned, but this is your opportunity to say, hey, from high school to professional, some things that you're proud of, you want to share, so the audience knows, okay, when he says these stories of the back end of it.
Yeah. And I think I have downplayed some things with wrestling that I accomplished when I was younger. But, you know, starting from the beginning, you know what I'm saying? I was born and raised in Durham. I have 2 older brothers. My parents have done very well for themselves and very known in the community. And I, kind of followed their example. And then my brothers, they both wrestled as well. So when I got to Riverside, there was a lot of expectations. But I got 3rd as a freshman, won states as a sophomore. Was undefeated my junior year, and then got a compression fracture in my neck. So I missed states my junior year and then was undefeated and won it as a senior. But I set the record at the time for the most wins in a high school career. I was 284-4. And then I got the most wins in a single season in the country, which still stands. I was 91-0 my senior year.
91-0, bro. Yeah. You could have get 9 more victories. You could have had like somebody like a bum of the month club get 9, not calling athletes bums, but you couldn't get like the 100-0 boy.
Man, we put 9, 10 matches. We pretty much maxed out what they would allow you to do. Mm-hmm. Probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks after I went 91-0, the News and Observer put out an article, and the tag was the Colton Palmer rule. Mm. You're not allowed to wrestle more than 55 matches in a season anymore. So they changed the rules right after I did it.
Okay, Colton Chamberlain. Yeah. That's crazy,
they changed them up right after that. But then, you know, went on to NC State. I got a full ride to wrestle at NC State. Yeah. And that was an experience because I had never really experienced losing, but so much, you know what I'm saying? And college was, you know, it's grown ass men. This isn't high school anymore. It's no more boys. Like everybody was that dude from wherever they're from. So that took a little while to adjust, but I always had like little flashes of what I was capable of. But I was also kind of losing a love for the sport, and had another coach that came in as an assistant, and it picked back up where it left off. And I finished out, college well, went to NCAAs, all that good stuff.
Question before we even go there, because I like the micro story is real. How did you process, man, going from like you're the guy in the country in wrestling in high school, only 4 losses your entire career, and then going to the collegiate level, and now it's a little bit more challenging. And maybe in a sense that in the education, what challenging is, it may not be a talent challenging, but a mindset. Like, what was it like, one, on that highest level of competition, but 2, mentally, how did you cope with, say, hold up, like I'm great, but I'm not the best. Mm-hmm. And that's hard because we train as we want to be the best at everything. You experience being the best. You don't know when the country come in, like, I don't care who's it, I'm the guy. Yeah. But now it's like, what happens when my best maybe ain't enough at certain things? So what like, walk us through that.
So it is a change up, especially wrestling, like hooping. I feel like hooping's different because you have dudes that have an exceptional talent or skill level. And there's a level, obviously, of physicality to the sport, mm-hmm. with every sport. But wrestling, what people fail to realize is it's a fight. It's a straight up fight. So when you transition from high school to college, like, I may have a tough match maybe one match is tough in a week or 2 weeks. My senior year, I was running through things. So it wasn't like I had that many, high level competition or what was deemed on my level, I guess you could say. When I got to college, practice, everybody's state champ, 2-time state champ, 3-time state champ. Man, I had never been losing in practice in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm scrapping in practice. I'm like, damn, like we can't be in the same weight class. Like, he just feels stronger. Like it's different from a man and a boy. But I definitely adapted quickly because wrestling is one of those sports where you'll get weeded out very quickly. You know what I'm saying? If you're really built for it. But I definitely I had the technique. I was technically sound enough, but college wrestling is you might make an attempt. You don't get the takedown, but you go again. And in high school, you might shoot, you get in on somebody and they give up. They bail out. Nobody bails out in college. So what I had to overcome is what we would consider chain wrestling. You have to keep going. And you're not going to beat everybody by a lot. You had to get comfortable winning 1-point and 2-point matches, but it takes a serious toll on your mind. And that's what I had to shift. I had the physical ability, mm-hmm. but it was the mindset to know that you could go hard for the whole first period, 2 minutes and 45 seconds and not get a takedown. Mm-hmm. But that was setting the stage for the next period. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was more so about breaking your opponent. And that's when you could score, as opposed to, I'm just going to go out and make this dude look silly, or, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to just bust his ass. Nah, it was more of I'm a scrap. Somebody's going to break at some point. And when that moment comes, I got to be prepared. Mm-hmm. So it was a trying time, definitely a trying time in life, but, it made me who I am. You know what I'm saying? It's always been a part of my life. So.
And as before we leave the wrestling time, I want to ask this question. So we're going right down the alley. Look at God. Cause you said a lot of stuff that can apply to business, and you apply it to your life, and you have. So share us the biggest 3 lessons that you learned throughout your wrestling career and as an athlete in general. And then show how you're applying that, like how it's built you to operate in the way you are right now as far as professional.
I would say the first one would be learning how to lose. Mm. Everyone always talks about you should never get comfortable with losing, and I don't think you should get comfortable with losing, but you got to learn how to lose and learn how to respond to that. And wrestling, I think, teaches you that very quickly. It's a crash course. Basketball, you have teammates. You know what I'm saying? Someone else could have messed up. You don't ever blame that one guy, but when somebody else is like, man, he fucked that up.
Yeah.
But wrestling is just you on the mat.
There's
nobody to blame. And with basketball, if you lose a game, you got a couple days to think about it, regroup and refocus. Wrestling, you lose in a tournament, you're up again in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So what wrestling taught me at a young age is how to put that loss behind me, reset, refocus, and go again very quickly. That was a big lesson, and that applies to business big time, because you're going to take L's. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have losses, but you can't just, be wallowing in your feelings and not moving forward, and getting behind. I would say number 2 in wrestling was my dad's phrase that he always used. And our goal of every workout was to move your breaking point. He was like, you don't get better until you hit your breaking point and then move beyond it. And I'm not saying breaking point like, oh, I'm tired and I want to give up. I'm talking, I'm damn near in tears. I'm actually broken. Don't feel like I can physically do anymore. And you get up and do more. And that's the times where you get better. And that's, definitely applies to business. So moving your breaking point has always been something that has stuck with me.
That's the podcast name for this episode, Moving Your Breaking Point. That's it.
Move your breaking point.
Yeah.
And then I would say the third lesson that I learned from wrestling was probably what you feel within a match, and that's adapting. You're in a 7-minute match. There's no real breaks in between, no time to go to a corner. It's 0-0 in a match. You can't figure out how you're gonna win this match or get a takedown, and you have to adjust on the whim.
You can shoot the regular vid, and then I'll post it later.
Yeah, so you're constantly moving. Things are changing, and you're adapting to the situation you're in. Mm-hmm. And I think business is one of those, that realm you got to be in, or that mindset you got to be in, that you never know what you're going to be asked to do going into a meeting. But I'm not going to turn down an opportunity.
No, not at all.
Not if I feel like if I can execute. And I'll be transparent. That's not my cup of tea, but I got somebody who can do that for you, and I can facilitate that. Mm-hmm. But just learning on a whim, adjusting on a whim, moving your breaking point, learn how to lose, but get back up and go again.
Yeah, and I challenge everybody that's listening. Like, there's something. Actually, I'm not going to do that challenge. One thing I do want to say is that it's like I saw it in high school. Like I hooped and we sacrificed. But we didn't really sacrifice. We just played. But I saw not only yourself, but the wrestling program. Shout out to the coach. It's Coach T, right? Coach T, man. Shout out to Coach T and all the wrestlers, man. Like I tell you, Riverside, I don't know when it ended, the rain a little bit, but that it was something. Y'all was so committed. Like you get to see, like I saw you come to class and I'm like, why is you, bro, some days you just didn't talk. And it was just, you couldn't talk. And I'm like, nigga, like, what's up, bro? Like, what's up? I'm playing around, nigga, like, yo, don't touch me, G. I'm sitting here like, oh, what up, see?
Yeah, we like, nah.
He like, bro, I'm like, dang, this nigga see the help with the boy. Like,
I haven't ate nothing.
Bro, I'm literally, back in the day, like, I'm always playing, like, what up, boy? He be like, bro, like, some days, like, really, really probably could have hooked off on me low key, but walk us through real quick, because I'm happy now. Walk us through real quick. What does it really take as far as cutting weight? Like when people talk about cutting weight and all that, what does it feel like? What is it?
It's probably one of the most challenging things you could do in life. And I guess I gotta preface it by saying, like, when I was from 9 years old to 18 years old, I had a coach that showed up every morning before school at 5:30 to either lift or wrestle. We had a wrestling room in my crib and a weight room. So I worked out every day before school at 5:30. That started at 9 years old, went all the way through 18.
Wow.
So that was where we were at with wrestling. That's the level of commitment it took. But my freshman year, I was wrestling 103. I was small, but my natural weight was probably about 115, 116. But it took me working out 3 times a day, every day, just to make weight. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, morning workout, I have actual practice. I finish practice, eat a little something, go home, put my sweats on, go to Millennium to the gym, jump on the treadmill for an hour, Stairmaster, whatever. And it was cutting weight. Cutting weight is probably the closest thing to feeling death, I would say, in my opinion. But the thing that's unique about wrestling is people have fasted before, and fasting is tough. But imagine, not eating as much. We still were, eating for nutritional value and whatnot to keep yourself going. But you're also expected to still go work out every day, still train at a high level. And then high school wrestling and college, you weigh in and then you compete in an hour. So it's how can I get to the smallest weight class possible, but be as strong as I can possibly be, but be ready to compete, because you're not going to have much time to recoup. Bro, when I tell you high school cutting weight was the worst. You were selling sodas. I used to be staring at your soda bag. Like, damn, they don't even realize what they got in there. Like I see somebody waste a drink. Man, I think what could sum it up and how bad cutting weight was, I go to water fountain in high school and just run the water, gargle it, and spit it out. Because I knew I couldn't swallow it. I couldn't gain any weight. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And that last day, usually comes down to water weight. So it's, it's extreme, but, it teaches you a lot of discipline. There's certain things I would do different, and I probably would have listened more in high school in terms of cutting weight the right way. In college, I cut it the right way. High school, I was starving myself or barely eating, or if I did eat, I would eat because something tasted good rather than, the nutritional value of it. College, you can't function like that. You have to actually put the fuel in your body because practice is so hard. You know what I'm saying? So you have to actually fuel your body and be consistent with your eating habits. So I made those adjustments. But when you used to see me, oh man, I probably hadn't ate the whole day. Didn't plan on eating the rest of the day either.
And please, cause I know how people, now we live, can you tell the people about the soda stuff? Cause cats be really acting like I didn't I be telling all these stories, every kid that heard me I always talk about soda. We really had a team of 8 cats. We made $100. Can you verify this, please?
I can verify. Greg Hill was hustling in high school. They were trying to kick him out of school. He was putting the vending machines out of work. Greg started off selling the sodas out of his bag. He was the hustle man. I cop a soda from Greg. Next thing I know, he got a whole team of people working for him. They getting them wholesale, and he had a soda enterprise, and it was to the point where the school actually had an issue with it. This dude has a crash course in entrepreneurship, what we're supposed to get from school. You know what I'm saying? Learning business and how it translates to life, and they shut him down.
Yeah, bro, it was crazy.
They shutting you down. It was stealth with it too, boy.
Shout out to Jay's Key, Principal Key, cause I've been connecting. Principal Key, a great guy. Not even thought about it. Principal Key, you were wrong. We could have hit out a whole program. You could have gave me 10,000 startup fund. I'm seeing this now. The Durham Public Schools got him. Bro, we would have been lit. They giving people bread and stuff like that. It's crazy. But yeah, I think you said something. I want to take the podcast here because now we're transitioning. Okay, you're outside of your past college, right? So now it's the real world. But I want to, cause since we're already here, you said something deep about you were operating at an elite level in high school, right? Maybe not going about it the right way, but the results were there. But there was a different level in college, and there's a different level in practice, different level of competition, different in different strategies. And I want that to equate because we are going to talk business. And I think about business, a lot of us, we have talent, and I'm talking about black folk. When I say us, I'm talking about black folk. We got talent, we got all this stuff, and others that are listening. But there's a different level on the highest level as a professional, specifically in entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. When you doing penny-ended contracts, you getting $50, $100 here, cool. But then you're talking you want $10,000 contracts, $20,000 contracts. But the thing is, a lot of times we're the same person in that $10, in then the $2,000, $20,000 boy. And there needs to be changes, right? And then even the next level, 200,000, there's gonna have to be a change. And then 2 million got to be a change in your contacts, your lawyers, all this other stuff. So walk us through from your perspective, from a business level, break down that analogy because I think that's really important. A lot of people miss. They get there right now. A lot of people that's listening, they upset. You hurt. Your business ain't where it needs to be. Your finances ain't where they need to be. Your relationship is not where it needs to be, and you're asking why, and I want you to kind of break down why there is certain levels and why they do exist.
Yeah, so there, with business, just as in life, there are different levels to it. And as you adjust that, when you level up, people oftentimes, and I did the same thing, when I first got out of college and I was working and then I went through the entrepreneurship realm, I was treating business like it wasn't like wrestling. I was treating it like it was something new to me. You know what I'm saying? I've already, everything that translated from wrestling translated to business in terms of the grind, the hustle, the adapting to the changes, to adjusting to the higher level. But when I was able to when that clicked for me, I realized that when I got to a higher level in wrestling and I wasn't getting the results I was looking for, I stopped, I evaluated, and I went back to the drawing board. In business, we have a tendency, things start going well. We start making some money. Now we want bigger clients. We push forward to get bigger clients or bigger deals or whatever the case may be. But now you forget about what got you there. Mm-hmm. Continuing to learn, you know what I'm saying? Continuing to better your craft. We get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of just going forward, checking things off the list, tasking everything out, that we're not stopping and taking a day or 2 days a week to actually better your craft. There's more you can learn about whatever your craft is. And that's one thing with wrestling. I could go break down someone else's film. I could go watch what they're doing. Why can I not finished this takedown in college, but I couldn't in high school. What adjustments do I need to make? And, you know, it's not always about just working harder. You know what I'm saying? You have to work your ass off. Don't get me wrong. But everyone says, you know, don't work harder, work smarter. Well, yeah, I would challenge you to say, like, you're going to have to work your ass off. You're going to have to work smart. But you also got to understand that, like, turn work off for a second, because you and your business, you're an employee of yourself or an employee of your business pretty much as an entrepreneur, because you end up working more than you would for anybody else. But you have to still take that time to learn about yourself, how you developing your skill sets, your mentality, you know, making sure you're keeping your mental healthy. Like you really have to stop and evaluate and still focus on learning new things. You know what I'm saying? On bettering what your craft is. And when you do get to that next level, and you know, you have a bigger contract on the table or a bigger deal, potential deal, you're ready for it. You're comfortable with it. You know, it doesn't scare you because you're like, shit, I may not know this, and this, which is a portion of the deal, but I've trained myself to make adjustments, to figure things out, to bring in additional help if I need it. You don't got to do it by yourself. You know what I'm saying? It took coaches, it took teammates, it took a lot of people around me to help me adjust to college wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take more than just yourself to adjust to the business world. There's going to be shit you don't know. It's just going to happen, especially when it comes to big time contracts, to big time clients. You just won't know. But I think we also are afraid to ask because we're like, damn, I want this to be all my bread. But you're never going to get to the next level if you're looking at it as you're hoarding all the money and you can't spread the money out. If I can spread the money out to my team, bring in people who are specialists in certain areas, then I'm going to keep leveling up, because then a company can come to me and say, hey, we got this idea, this project, go ahead. Well, I got to know everything about, you know, how to execute that. So
why do you think, and there's something critical there, let's for your opinion, right? What's the root? Because I struggle with this a lot. What's the root of we really want to keep a lot of the bread ourselves? Like, and that shrinks our growth. And I got an opinion, but it's like, man, like you can, yeah, what is it?
You want me to go deep or just
go deep, bro? No, go deep.
If I go deep with it, I think it starts from what we are, driven by in terms of what we, I don't want to say where we find purpose, but it's somewhat of where humanity finds purpose. Right now, I think we're in a stage and phase right now where security is our purpose. And when I say security, that means wealth. You know, the more money I have, the more secure I am, the more secure I can ensure my family will be. And we want generational wealth. We want to make sure our families are secure as well down the road. Well, we start getting so hyper focused on the money aspect that we don't focus on necessarily what it's going to take to build that generational wealth, or what you developing generational wealth more than likely means 10 other people developed it as well.
Yeah.
Developing it by yourself is very rare. So I think we have a tendency to hoard the money, or want to pull all the money or keep it to ourselves, because we've been living in a society that's very individualistic and driven by the security or the wealth, you know, as opposed to our indigenous cultures and cultures that we actually stem from that were more communicable. You know what I'm saying? Like I might be, you know, the hunter, you know, you may be the farmer, but for our community or our family or our tribe to thrive, you need both of us. You know, I might get a little more credit than you do for this or that, but at the end of the day, I can't function without you. You can't function without me. And I think we have to approach business that way, especially as Black folks. We have to team up. We have to network, but we also have to trust that our counterparts, our peers are going to do what they say they're going to do, but they're also going to, keep us in mind, you know what I'm saying, when they have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you build that trust and that network,
it's explosive.
Yeah. You're not worried about you know the bread's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We have way too many talented people in a circle, Durham specifically, from our era that are all doing their thing. And, you know, we're reconnecting or starting to connect more in our 30s. And it's like, it's always been there. You know, it took the time for us to learn that we needed each other, but, you know, we have the resources to be multi-millionaires, billionaires, and create generational wealth right here at home. We don't have to go outside of our circles.
Amongst each other. And
yeah,
I think
exactly.
a lot of it, to be real, is it's a self-love piece. Because to build it out, when you lack self-love, and what self-love means to me is that you're constantly evaluating who you are. And once you evaluate who you are, you know what lane you should be in. But when you don't evaluate yourself, you see, oh, Colton lane, he doing that. Well, shoot, I need to do this too.
Yeah.
Well, I need this. Oh, he ain't all that, blah, blah. It's like, hold up. No. When you know yourself, you know, that's not my lane. Here's my lane. Here's how I can become a specialist. And all of a sudden, then lights start going on because you're a specialist. People need specialists, right? People don't need generalists. Generalists, you can fire them. You can't, like specialists, there's certain things you can do that I can't do. Whatever I can't, there's certain things, there's certain space you have, I can't do. But if you're a generalist, I mean, anybody can edit something. Anybody can do this. But when you like, okay, there's a way he edit. There's a way he talks. There's a way he does this. Then boom, that's the gift. But I think the challenge is there's some hangups around the way, a lot of mental hurdles. But I'm like, man, I wish, and I challenge, and when I talk to kids and even young adults, I'm like, yo, find out who you are.
Yeah.
Like the earlier you are, like there's some young kids and you probably met that are just like, boom, like it's crazy. But their parents and they create a culture. And I'm challenging our parents too, cause we know, well, now I'm 30, the people that listen to this thing, 35, 36, whatever, like you challenge kids, man, don't fit them into your mode. Like don't. I mean, yo, if you got a good mode, get them to fit you into their culture. But if NC State, there's probably a culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that every single individual is going to be exactly, but it's a culture of excellence, it's a culture of dedication. But the challenge I think a lot of times is identifying where we fit in within that. And then not saying, okay, oh, your son or whoever you want, your dad, your mom's a dentist. Which one's a dentist?
My mom's a dentist.
So did she ever be like, okay, you need to, all right, like you were good in school, but like, how was that dynamic? Like, let's unpack kind of growing up, because I mean, 2-parent household already had some big meets in the city. Like, how was that dichotomy?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think my parents did an excellent job, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think they let us kind of find our own way. In terms of what we want to do. My mom's a dentist. She has 2 practices in Durham. My dad was, in, city government. He was a deputy county manager for quite some time, and he was director of community affairs at, Duke for a while. Now he's, at self-help and probably moving towards the retirement stage. And my mom as well. But, you know, it's interesting that, you know, my dad was a CPA, but went into politics. My mom's a dentist. My oldest brother's an artist. My middle brother is a teacher and artist, tattoo artist, but artist as well. And then, and a teacher, you know, and then me, I'm an entrepreneur, which my mom is definitely an entrepreneur with her dental practices, but mine was just a little bit different, you know, different of a realm. It wasn't a very traditional, you know, occupation, or the approach I've taken hasn't been as traditional, but I think my parents gave us the room to move, room to breathe. But, you know, we were taught how to grind as well. And wrestling was that grind. You know what I'm saying? Like that was what taught us what it took to be good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I was good, but I still saw people that outwork me. Mm. So it's like, there's always still room.
But it's good to be around those, cause you see the levels.
Yeah. Like it's eye opening too. I mean, just recently a close friend of mine who's on on the Olympic ladder and training for the Olympics, I thought I was working my ass off all through high school, college, and I was, you know what I'm saying? But he was telling me, he's like, yeah, sometimes, man, I would just, you know, probably once or twice a week, I would go in the room. College wrestling room is probably about 45, 50 yards long. He would go in the room, set the clock for an hour, play music. He's in there by himself, and he would just walk the length of the room in his wrestling stance. Never stand up straight, never break his stance. If you know anything about wrestling or being in a wrestling stance, your back will be killing you, your knees, your hips, staying in a wrestling stance and walking for an hour straight and never breaking your stance. But for me, that wasn't, hearing that from him, I was like, boy, he's on a whole nother level, because that was a mental test for him twice a week. You know what I'm saying? To walk the length of the wrestling room in his stance for a full hour, never stand up straight, never shake it out, None of that. Stayed stance, kept walking. But an hour, I'd be bored. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I would just be like, man, I don't want to be here anymore. But for him to put himself through something like that as an individual with no coach around, nobody making him do it, that's a whole nother level of mental toughness that a lot of folks just don't have. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of cats that came up tough or came up in tough situations and it made them who they are and made them stronger. But there's a whole nother level of mental toughness that isn't about your physical surroundings. It's about where you can take your mind and what you can do with your mind. And, you know, wrestling showed me that from a young age and showed me people who are capable of that, which lets you know how hard and how driven people are out here to be successful. Just because you say you want something or think you're going to get there, don't mean it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's a commitment every day.
What do you do, man? You do a lot of stuff, but I'm like, yo, what do you do?
So, and I gotta say something because I was reading all these different books about business and they were like, yeah, you need to focus on your one thing. And I think that's true. Yeah. To a degree, it's true.
Depends on who you are. Yeah. Like, they're going to tell me that, but then the dude is telling me that it seems like you're all these lanes.
It seems like you're in a bunch of lanes. So it seems like I'm in a ton of lanes. But like you said, you got to know when to stay in your lane. I know what my lane is. I may be involved with a bunch of different businesses and a bunch of different things going on, but within each one of those ecosystems, I still have just my lane. Mm-hmm. And that's why when I sent you my bio, I consider myself a facilitator.
That's it.
The definition of a facilitator is someone who can make your job easier, who can make something easier for you. So I feel like I have the ability to connect people with who they need to work with. I feel like I have a keen ability to network and to connect with people. But also I feel like I have a knack for understanding the experience of things, whether it's a party or it's, if you're by a bottle of Bedlam and you out with your friends and you're drinking it and, I can see that experience and make that translate into a marketing tool or, branding and whatnot. So I would consider myself a facilitator, but also a connector. So we have Gold Group Incorporated, which is what is my company or the company I'm focused on. And instead of going the route of just hiring employees, I wanted to create a network of people, of specialists that I could bring in for any situation. So our tagline, strategic solutions. If you have a problem, we'll fix it. Mm-hmm. If I can't fix it, I have someone who can, and I will bring them in for whatever your specialized need is. I like to stay in the branding and marketing realm, but I have attorneys I rock with, PR folks, web designers, graphic designers. We want to be able to facilitate any needs or any assistance you may have as a business. And what that's been able to create for me is somewhat of our own little ecosystem. And I will facilitate meetings or connections between CEOs. The CEO of one company can learn from the CEO of another. And they may never get a chance to speak. And it may even be, as a CEO, you don't want to look like you're going to another CEO for advice. But if I can create that meeting, off the books or off the record for them to be in a space where they're comfortable to learn from each other, that's another way I can,
which has value.
Yeah. There's another way I can facilitate the assistance you may need. So, Gold Group is involved in, we have our foundation. I'm kind of have fallen into the management representation of athletes, which is specifically Olympic sport athletes. And right now wrestling is the focus for me and some of those guys that are training for the Olympics. Cause I just feel like there's a major need there for representation from them. But I have clients that are, in the liquor realm and, then clients that are, local businesses. So we do have a lot of touch points, mm-hmm. but it always comes back to one point for me. And that's, I enjoy helping people or cultivating an idea or seeing an idea come to fruition. I love that experience. And it is hard for me to sit and do the same thing over and over again. And I was reading all those books and they say you need to be focused on one thing. And I was like, damn, I'm just not happy focused on one thing. But how can I shift what I am good at, monetize it, and make it my one thing? But it's my one thing I do with multiple different businesses. And it took me years to figure that out.
Oh yeah.
And I think I'm really now just really finding my stride. You know what I'm saying? I really got it rolling now. And you know, things have just been falling in my lap, to be honest.
Same here. I think that, I think it's critical. Like a lot of big books is cool, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, I used to have in my title on my Instagram, I'm professional speaker, author, podcast. Well, it sounds good. It sounds deep, but it's like, nah, man, today, especially because of our sense, because we've been living this life, it's different. It's not for everybody, because certain people, I mean, you need those handles because you just starting to really come into your own in the business. But shoot, we've been in the lane, in this space for so long. Like, I'm Greg. And I've always said, and Zoe said this all the time, like, I always say I'm gonna be a legend, I'm gonna be this. And it made people feel uncomfortable. Like, yo, look, what you mean, who he think he is? But I always knew that, yo, I'm just Greg. Yeah. Like, and it's hard to be comfortable with that because so many people are uncomfortable when you say, yo, nah, we're trying to be legend. Nah, I'm trying to be great, phenomenal. Like, oh, what? I used to compare myself to Martin Luther King and all them. I was like, I looked at my age. I said at 20, he was doing this. At 20, I was leading voter stuff with my boy Marcus Bass. Shout out to Marcus Bass. We did X, Y, and Z. I said, bro, like, I'm tracking the same way. Why can't I put myself in them? Why not? That's what he would want. You feel me? Malcolm X, he probably looking up like, yo, I see you, G. That's what we want. You feel me?
Yeah.
So,
no, definitely.
At the end of the day, I think there's so much value in really owning who you are, like really owning who you are, having that confidence, that boldness, and hopefully the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, the work that people in the coach is doing, it's like, hold up. That's my goal of everything, is to show people like, yo, do you realize how great you are?
Yeah, no, that's real, man. I think that, you know, everyone needs to hear that. Like even wrestling wise, man, I always downplayed what I accomplished because I didn't accomplish my end goals in terms of what I want to do in college, wrestling. But, you know, I sat down with my brothers and just over the holidays and some old coaches, and we were just talking. And a coach that, you know, man, I used to think he was the meanest person in the world, but he made me who I was in terms of wrestling. He actually, a funny story, after my freshman year, I was 74-3, got third in the state. And after that season, from cutting so much weight, I gained a lot of weight. And wrestling, going from 103 to 125 in weight class is a big jump. I'm walking around probably naturally about 140 at that point, but it wasn't a solid 140 to cut to 125. I'm in the kitchen with him, CC Fisher, shout out to CC, and my mom. And he just looked at me. He's like, you suck. I suck. What you mean I suck? Like, I got third in the state last year. Like, I got the most wins ever for a freshman in the United States. Like, what you mean I suck? He's like, yeah, but you suck. He was like, you just Debo everybody. You know how to wrestle, but you just Debo everybody. And man, I was furious. It was probably 9 o'clock at night. I went in my room, went straight to bed. I knew he was going to wake me up at 6 o'clock to work out, you know, kind of kicking off the summer. But when I woke up that morning, but yeah, he's like, you suck. And, bro, he meant it. He
said it, but like for real, like, no, you suck, bro.
Like, you suck. I'm furious. Woke up next morning, we got to it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That summer, I mean, it prepared me for the next season to jump that many weight classes, to go undefeated, to win states. He didn't tell me till I was a grown ass man, like, what you accomplish doesn't happen very often. He was like, I was extremely proud of you at that point. But back then I just wanted him to tell me I was, you know what I'm saying, that I was good. But as I got older, and now that I am older, you know what I'm saying, I look back on what I did accomplish, and it was, you know, I did do some great things in wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I didn't necessarily go to the level I wanted to go to or necessarily accomplish all the accolades, but you know what I'm saying, I did do some great things there, and realizing that, man, it feels good. And I think the same thing happens when you get into business. I feel like I've accomplished some things, and even my mom the other day, I'm like, you know, I don't feel like I'm where I want to be. She was like, you know, it's not always about the monetary. You know, it's not always about, you know, people. Who gives a fuck if people think you're rich? And who really gives a fuck if you're rich?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
For a second they do, but then they go back to their crib and
they could care less. So that isn't your goal. Your goal, you need to shift gears, you know what I'm saying, with what you want to accomplish and what you actually see value in. And when I shifted gears, yeah, I want to make a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? I want to create a generation.
Every right to that.
I want everybody around me to make a lot of bread.
Every right, yeah.
Yeah, but it was, I need hearing from my mom, we're proud of you. You've accomplished so much. And hearing people say to me or hit me up on the gram, which I would never expect. And they're like, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. Like, I always keep up with you. I'm motivated by you. And those little moments are way more gratifying than any check I've been cut. Mm-hmm. Way more gratifying.
And I think the issue a lot of times is, and I was talking to a young lady of mine, and I was like, I really feel that at times when you do stuff on a high level, man, and I talk to Zoe about this too, it's like cats withhold praise because they think you maybe are already arrogant or whatever. It's like, bro, just give roses, because a lot of times you would think, oh, you do a party or you do something that's high level, people like, yo, whatever. Nah, it ain't really like that. Nobody's really saying, hey, man, that was phenomenal work you did.
Yeah.
It's more so, it's cool, it's love. Oh, that's my nigga. It's never like, oh, no, that's phenomenal. What you've been able to do it. And she say, well, even with the promotion, that's great. You don't hear that.
You don't.
Because people just take it for granted. Oh, he probably get all the time, and you go years and nobody ever gave you no rose. Everybody like, no special parties for you. I'm like, bro, what? Dang, bro, did I do it? Was I value to y'all? Like, I gave my life to y'all, and like, even me, it took me 7 years to graduate. It shouldn't have took me 7 years, but those last 3 years, hosting all these events, and it's like, well, dang, bro, like, I was the guy everybody got in free, everybody this, and I'm the guy left holding with the GPA, with the bad credit, and it was my decisions, but we never got no, hey man, gee, like you really, and now it came and I respect it, but at times it's a challenge, like when you don't get that acknowledgement.
It definitely is, man. Like when you don't get credit for the things you've done, like it definitely stings, you know what I'm saying? And then also, you know what I'm saying, you give cats ideas or you tell them, I think you should do this and do that. And then they do it and don't acknowledge that it came from you. That'll really piss you off. That'll
hey, bro, I shot those videos, bro. I was like, bro, hey, my bad. I forgot.
But that'll really get to you, man. But that also stems back to, acknowledging someone else's greatness, the greatness of the man behind the camera as much as the person who's in front of it. And with our own friends, we got to acknowledge, like telling your friend you're great, you know what I'm saying, you're doing your thing. That's all love. And I think we also, when we start to do that, then it becomes a routine. And then it feels like, it doesn't mean the same thing. But when somebody calls you or one of your boys calls you, y'all haven't talked in a while, or y'all just catching up, and he's like, man, bro, you killing it, man. Like you really are great, truly great, man. I truly look up to you. You motivate me. That speaks volumes. You know what I'm saying? When you really feel like someone's bringing you something that's really from the heart, like that has a whole different impact on you. And if anything, it motivates you so much more to go so much harder. You know what I'm saying? But I think we do have to do a better job of, telling people how great they are and, the little things. Like even with this whole COVID crisis, my brother and I were talking, I was thinking about it. I was like, man, everybody's talking about the first responders, which definitely is a big deal. Folks that are working in hospitals, nurses, cops, fire, first responders right now with COVID and all that, and the medical workers, that's huge. But think about the folks that never stop working at your grocery store or at cookout, the folks that are at fast food places. Bro, people are pulling up on them every day, pissed off at the situation,
at all
taking
times.
It out on them. Like, why the fuck y'all going so slow? Well, for them, this is a complete change. They're used to working inside. Now they got to do everything outside. Like, bro, those folks deserve just as much credit. They've kept the country moving just as much as the medical workers have, and, dealing with everyone's attitudes every time they pull up. Like, we take for granted what people like that have done to keep things rolling. Like, Food Line didn't close. Harris Teeter didn't close. Like,
not at all.
And a lot of those are kids in there still working, making sure you got shit you need when you go home. So it's like, that's something for me that's like something that may be minute to you or you think is small or is routine. For somebody else, that's major. You know what I'm saying? This is a pivotal point in their life, or, they could use the acknowledgement too. Everybody, everyone throws entrepreneur around and all these terms that seemingly give you more credit or make you seem better or like you're doing better, but that really don't mean shit. I mean, there's people who have been working the same job for 30 years, but they are the fucking best at that job, and they deserve to be given the credit. Yeah. They deserve the acknowledgement. Even if it's for $10 an hour, that's not what they're going for. You have to, the value stretches far beyond the monetary, in my opinion.
I think the basis is all in love. Yeah. And I think I have to challenge myself, because I get mad at people my age, because y'all be on some other stuff. But really, can we just love each other? Yeah. Not in a weird, I gotta be PC. I think we gotta love, man. We gotta love, like, really, not conditionally, but we now I saw something disgusting with the Herman Cain situation. I know, unfortunately, he passed away. He was a Republican. He didn't wear a mask, and that's a story in itself. But I'm seeing people comment like, oh my God, that's what you deserve, blah, blah, blah. And it's people of color and people not of color. But I'm like, what? I know he's not a Democrat. I know but why all this? Yeah. And it's usually with high profile individuals. Like, well, dang, are we gonna shoot out all our black celebrities or people that are influencers or whatever? Then what are we doing here? Like, what, like, why do people sacrifice so much for the culture in a certain way to then get vilified over, like, you get one picture with Trump and you out the window, and it's like, bro, like, you don't know no context. You don't know the context of a lot of the decisions people make.
No, you don't.
Especially in politics. And I'm harsh on politicians, but we don't know the context. And we comment on stuff like Kamala Harris. Like, I don't know the context on all that stuff, but people were just railing off on her stuff. I'm like, bro, like, why in the culture we so like, you rising, you doing this? No, bump that. In 1988, she wrote on this bill, whatever. You don't know who was in that room when she wrote on that bill on the mass incarceration.
You don't know what the deal was. You don't know what there's a give and take with everything. And I'm not trying to, I don't necessarily give, anyone a pass. I do want to know in context why you said what you said or did what you did, but you got to understand where people are too. You look at a politician and be like, oh, well, they did this and that to get to where they are, or something you may not agree with, or they pull something from their past. But then if you take that down to a level where it's, not in a political realm or in that spotlight, mm-hmm. but you talk about, an athlete or anybody at work, there's definitely stuff that we've probably done in the workspace to get ahead that would definitely be frowned upon. You shifted gears we've all shifted gears in terms of code shifting and things like that to fit in or be comfortable around white folks. There's a lot of stuff that probably, if it got caught on camera, I'd be like, back in the day, that I would have been like, damn, I would be ashamed if everyone saw or heard what I said, because I was being politically correct. I had turned on the voice for them to make white people more comfortable, or to make, people in that corporate realm more comfortable. And it's something that I wish I didn't have to do, and I wish I wouldn't have done. But at that particular time, I thought it was necessary. And I also thought I used to brag about, man, I'm a chameleon. Like, I can be around anybody. Like, this and that. But then there was a time where I was like, okay, even with black folks, like, I don't need to shift anymore. I can be who I am. Yeah, there's certain times where I may be, may use profanity in this situation and not in this one. But, I'm not going to change who I am. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to change my delivery. You know what I'm saying? Because I always had it in high school. You know what I'm saying? I would be talking to cats and be like, well, you sound like a white boy. And I used to not have the firepower to kind of shoot back. But now I'm like, shit. So because I'm well spoken or articulate, I sound white. That don't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying?
With a straight face. And like, ain't stuff that used to be funny ain't funny no more.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. And it's sad that, like, in middle school, I tried to shift it. Like, I tried to talk different. Then I was like, man, by the time I got to high school, I was like, man, I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about how I talk or my delivery. But then I was also in a sport like wrestling where black folks are like, you wrestle. Like, I was already in that outlier in that work in the black community.
Wrestling is it's not weird. It's a different. You got on Speedos, y'all tackling, you rubbing. It's like, bruh, like,
and people and to a wrestler, that's the furthest from what it's like. You know what I'm saying? People like, man, like, you got the little tight singlet on, man. Like, that don't feel, that's not weird to you. Like, yeah, while you sitting there thinking about something feeling weird, motherfuckers kicking your ass. Yeah, that's the last thing you're thinking of. But, I feel like our wrestling program educated the black community in Durham on what the sport of wrestling could provide.
There's a lot of black folks in wrestling now.
To D1 nonstop. You know what I'm saying? You can go play football, be on a team with 60 cats, and if the coaches ain't pushing you out there, you don't go nowhere. Wrestling, no matter what, it's one-on-one. You can see how good I really am. I ain't blending in no team or no group. You know what I'm saying?
You will get
exposed. See exactly how good I am. And you can see how much heart I got. Carolina's coach back in the day, not the current coach, when I lost in States, he came down. Actually was another moment for me that was big because I was back there backstage like crying. You know what I'm saying? Something I had been working towards my entire life up to that point, up to being, 14 years old, from 5 to 14. I just fell short. And the Carolina coach came up to me and he was like, what I pay attention to when I'm recruiting a kid is not when he wins all the time, but how you respond after you lose. And my dad was finished on an odd number. I don't care if we lose in this tournament multiple times. You're going to get first, third, fifth, or seventh. We're not happy with any even numbers, only happy with odd. We're going to go out with a win. And that's when I'm wiping tears, and to hear a college coach who I'm hoping recruits me later say, I want to see how you respond. You lost. You're not used to losing. You got to win 2 more matches to get third. And hearing that, I'm wiping tears like shit. I'm not losing. I'm not going to lose again. You know what I'm saying? The next match, I went out and just tried to punish the kid. It wasn't about how bad I beat him points wise. At that point, my thought process was I'm about to send a message these last 2 matches this season that no one's going to want to fuck with me next season. Because not only am I going to start beating people, I'm going to start breaking them. I'm going to make them want to go up a weight class or down a weight class. You don't ever want to see me again. And, that shifted. I don't know how we got back there, and I always kind of get back to wrestling, but that's, that's my foundation. Kind of that's what I can always revert back to with life experiences now that I know I can find a similar, experience in my wrestling career that I can, make sense of things and kind of figure out where I need to go from there.
And I think that's important because I see a lot of people where they discredit their past experiences. They don't take in context like, I'm just starting off. Well, certain things you're not just starting off. Like some guy, a friend of mine, he wants to get into the speaking game, and he was like, he's a dancer, right? Been doing it for 15 years on a high level. He's like, well, I'm just starting off speaking. I said, bro, speaking is just communication. And I mean, to be honest, there's people that are barely literate and are great speakers. Are you saying something that matters and is from the heart?
Yeah.
That's all communication really is for the most part, right? Depending on what level you're trying to go on. So I think the biggest thing, man, and now we think about it, is just really unpacking your past, unpacking where your wins were. And not even financially, unpacking where the wins were even in relationships, or your wins were with your kids, like your wins were at work, like the small things, and build some of your own momentum before. But also too, I want to make sure I remember to hit this. Let's talk about, before we transition to the last part of the show. And honestly, we're going to have a great part 1, but this is good. We're going to have another something in the back end, but let's speak on value and value yourself, and especially in business. And because I think that's really important, because the next level of business, where the people out there that haven't really made it to securing the bigger deals that they would like, or even your job, you're a teacher, you haven't really got the promotion, you're trying to get a vice principal, all this other stuff. There's a certain essence of playing big, not from like a marketing, but from like a life and force. And you go in the meetings, you know what you deserve, your value. So when did you start to understand your value, and how do you process that for those?
Discovered that when I was in a meeting. I have a branding and marketing firm. And we were doing it more on a local, I would say on a statewide and regional level. And we had a meeting with a company that's national and international. I'm looking at their track record. I'm like, damn, they don't work with everybody. Like, they multi-million-dollar projects, this and that. I get in the meeting and they are talking about some bullshit. I'm like, this is some bullshit. Like, why are we giving them all this bread to, and I wasn't hating on them or hating on the situation, but I was like, what they're doing and what they're saying they can do, I could do 10 times better than they can, but they've packaged it to where they show you how valuable they are, how valuable their team is, and the results you're going to get from it.
And you said enough just in that 3 things, enough for the podcast. I hope y'all catch that. I'm not going to repeat it. Right there, if you can identify those things, you can get whatever contract you want. But if you can't, and we have to identify it for you, you're going to get whatever somebody give you. Continue.
Exactly. No, definitely. And I believed it. Well, up to that point, I was, I think I was getting, I was being valued. I think I was valuable to the companies I had worked with, and I had been, paid well for what I had done. But I knew that at that moment, like, I can play on that level. Mm-hmm. I can be on that level. I know how to show them the results that I can, I can provide. I know how to package what I need to do and how I need to do it. But I thought it was almost like you're waiting for somebody to either tell you or waiting for some kind of light bulb to go off. That's like, oh, now I'm on that level. I know you have to put yourself on that level. And, going back to sports as a kid or wrestling, like I always do, but like, there was a point where I was like, I am this shit. Like, I am good. Like, actually nobody can beat me in North Carolina. I got to a point in my sophomore year, like, nobody can beat me. Only way I lose a match is if I beat myself.
And side note, the quick context, be warned, there's a certain amount of work that you have to put in to put this asset. So I don't want to get confused.
Yeah, like, automatic.
Don't just say I need 20,000. Don't you dare. No. There's a certain amount, but we just want to show in levels. All right. I love y'all.
But, and I'll say, if you're really honest with yourself, when you're at the point where you can ask for the amount of money or say or demand, this is what I need. But you also have to have the heart to say it and possibly hear no and walk the fuck out. If you're like, well, I could actually do this, or I could bring it down if we could do it. Like, and I used to make adjustments. I used to adjust. Now, if somebody asks for a particular service from me, and I feel like that's going to take a significant amount of time, amount of work, amount of resources, and I'm like, hey, what's your budget? Or I say, this is the amount, and they're like, I can't do that. This is my budget. I'm not going to say, hell no, I'm kicking you out. I'll say, okay, I know some people that I believe that might be a better fit for you. Here are some folks, because for me, with the resources I have and the time I have, that's just not quite enough for me. But these people do good work, or this particular person, or I may even suggest to them another route that would save them money, where they could knock out 2 or 3 or 4, birds with one stone type of deal. Yeah. So I may help them restructure their approach. If they don't have the means or the finances within their business to do that at that particular moment, you can still help somebody or still be of assistance to a business, and still say no. Like, it's okay to say no.
And I think that's huge. And you're helping reframe mine, because I think there's a lot of bad stuff online about, oh, they can't afford me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, no. Like, that's not, first of all, not good business. I've seen people. Yeah. But second, it's like, well, there's other ways. Yeah. Like, it's so cool to beat up on small businesses. Like, this small business instead of going to be a big business. If they can afford you, it ain't your time to go on Instagram. Oh, they can't afford my rates, all this other stuff. No, like, well, we cut ourselves off so much by doing stuff like that. I don't even want to go that route, but,
can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
One thing. Another way, because we talked about your value and your experience, and you have to work to get there. What I would suggest for any business owner that's providing any service, or for anyone who is trying to level up, you have to get the experience some way, somehow. So for me, I was starting to charge more for my services, but I also had different ideas and different things that I thought that would be successful, but you don't necessarily want to walk into a big time client and try something new or try something out. So but I have businesses coming to me all the time that are smaller businesses. If I see that business has big time potential, or that person has big time potential, I will say, hey, I'll take on your company or this particular project with you. I know you may not have the means within your business at this particular moment to pay what I would usually charge. Now, I'm going to let you know what I would usually charge, so you know what kind of work, the level of work you're getting. But I'm willing to drop my rates back, because I believe in, one, your business and your foresight with your business, but also believe in you. But we're going to try some new things here. So I need you to give me a little bit more wiggle room to try some different things and to see if these particular approaches work. We're going to track the analytics. You know, we're going to, but in the process of me doing that, I'm still going to give you all the video footage you need, the content, the graphics, or whatever they may need from us service wise. You're going to get all that, and I'm not going to charge as much as I usually would. But I'm also gonna try out some new strategies that I think can work for your business and work for you. And, you know, that has helped me to get my foot in the door with some smaller businesses that are now not so small. And in my opinion, you know, you have to get
your portfolio up, man.
Yeah. It's not about, you can't always just look at the business's resume or track record or how much money they're making to decide whether or not you want to do business with them. You got to do business with people who are up and comers, because at some point you're an up and comer, and I still deem myself an up and comer. So, you know, you got to look to those opportunities. And one more quick thing I got to say is, if you have a skill set that you are very good at, and there's a particular business that needs your services that don't have necessarily the money to pay you, you don't always have to barter, or you can barter. You don't always have to do it straight bread. Like, it doesn't have to be that you pay me. I'll do this for you, but I believe in your business, and I think I could be a lasting resource for you. How would you feel about equity? You know, if you give a percentage equity to me in your business, and we contractually do it, we do it the right way. Now I'm a part of your team. I'm always a resource. You know, I'm always a board member, whatever the case may be. But I think we rarely ever want to give up a piece of our business. But if someone's going to take you to the next level, you want to be smart about how much you may give up or what the percentage may be. But man, if I have a vested interest, even if it's 2 or 3% in a particular business, I'm going to do a little bit extra to make sure they get there and they're successful. So
can you start when you realize the next level of business has nothing to, most powerful people in the country, a lot of them they're not even billionaires. They're not millionaires. Like, no, I mean, some of them, a lot of millionaires, but it's the conversations they can have. It's the things they can connect together. That's where the will wealth is. All this other stuff is a Western construct anyways. Y'all go to Africa, figure that out. You bring $1 billion to Africa, some country don't observe your dollar and say, hey, try to move some stuff around, and they'll kill you. Yeah, so I mean, it just, and let me retract that, because I know y'all gonna be like, oh, why you have to put Africa? I don't know about that. I'm just saying, go to other third world countries and try that game, right? Because I know some of y'all, the more you grow, the more people are like, oh, well, Greg said Africa, and I'm like, nah, I'm not trying to pick on the homeland. I'm just saying, like, y'all, you gotta have a skill set or something. So as we conclude, man, there's 2 last questions. The first being, what do you want your lasting legacy to be, man? I know it's morbid, but when it's all said and done, man, when the chapter is closed, like, what do you want Colton Palmer, the legacy that you live, what do you want it to be?
I want it to be that I left a lasting impact on a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? My dad always said to me, you know, you can tell how a man lived by how people show up to his funeral. You know what I'm saying? If it's packed, it's deep, you know, you can tell that he or she was a mentor, or, you know, guided people, gave people opportunities. But, you know, I would hope that, you know, impressions that I leave on people, even if it's in, you know, for 10 minutes, that they will always remember that particular time where we engage with one another, and, you know, that I left some sort of positive impact on their life, but also, for me, impact on my community. And, you know, Durham specifically, North Carolina, anybody knows me, I'm extremely, you know, proud person of where I'm from. And I think, I would like people to know what I did here, but also what my city has done and has led the way for over the, you know, forever. You know what I'm saying? If you really look at Durham, you know, we've been on the forefront of race relations years before, you know, other cities caught up. You know, we were Black Wall Street at one point following Tulsa. Like, you know, there have been a lot of great people that have come through here. And if you're from here, you know it, you feel it. It's almost unexplainable when people are like, why y'all love Durham so much? But I want to leave an impact here at home in Durham, you know, a legacy behind for hopefully one day my kids, and for, you know, future generations. But, you know, if at the end of the day, if when people talk about me, they just say he was a good person, I'm happy with that.
Mm. Yeah. And then the last one, of course, everybody ever came on my show. We typically do a culture change round, but we'll get that out on the back end. The last question is, if you could change one thing about society, most specifically the African American culture, what would it be and why?
I think I would change. I would change how we approach knowledge in a way, and how we, I think we always, and I don't want to dive too deep into religion and spirituality, because I am a very spiritual person. But I think that we depend on others to learn and to grow and to understand. We always not knowing and not, kind of touching the how much power we have within. You know, there's a lot you can answer that comes from yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I reference inner standing all the time. And when I read that, and what, you know, our indigenous people, Black folks, and, you know, they had a connection with the ancestors, with the earth, with an inner standing, you know what I'm saying, with God, with that presence. And I think we just naturally go to outside sources all the time. Like, we want to, you know, a preacher or a priest is great for guidance. Absolutely. You need tutors and
guidance, but you still got that.
But you still have to understand within
and go the journey. Like,
absolutely.
They're not climbing the mountain for you.
Yeah.
Hey, go this direction. But they can point you. We gonna climb this mountain?
I wish we would look within a lot more than searching for things, you know, on the exterior. And I think a lot of our thought process and why we take that approach is because of, you know, kind of Eurocentric constructs that we have, you know, now become a part of. And we were detached from our roots, you know what I'm saying? And from our traditions and where our, you know, that little something we just have inside of us that we can't necessarily explain, but we know where it comes from, but you can't necessarily get a beat on it, man. I think we got to listen to that voice within. Like, you know, kids that may be making bad decisions in the streets, you know that you got that inner voice that tells you what's right and wrong, do right by people. You can hear it. You know, we turn the volume down on it a lot of times. And I think, you know, we have a tendency to do that. But, you know, at our core, our nature, we're not a violent people. We're not push my brother down to go forward. We're not the crabs in a barrel stepping over top of the people around us. Our nature is a communicable people, you know what I'm saying, to help each other, to not hoard any knowledge, to give it out, you know what I'm saying, to listen, to understand, you know, one another. I mean, that's in us. Everything that we look to books for guidance, or, you know, you hear from a speaker that resonates with you, you know and feel on the inside that you already knew that. You already knew.
Yeah.
It was already there. You know what I'm saying? We just got to open up and allow ourselves to hear that voice that's coming from within, and to, you know, let yourself lead the way. You know what I'm saying? But, if I could change that, I mean, that's what I would change. I think if we were all just really moving in our own energy and within our own spirit, we can do exceptional things.
Man, this has been a powerful hour plus, bro. Like, for real. It's been an honor to really build on a way where it's a change of pace, man. Change of pace. And I think there's a lot of work to be done in the city, bro. A lot of work to be done in the city. A lot of work that has been done.
Yeah.
And even outside of our peer group, I think our generation at 30 to 35, I think hopefully this interview and this collaboration and future collaborations kind of build into a building together, specifically in Durham. Durham is a very weird place where, especially amongst Black leaders, and I say it publicly, there's a lot of ball hogs, bro. A lot of ball hogs to a certain extent, but I've seen. And it's like, nah, it's they want to dictate who comes to playing fields and things of that nature. And hopefully we can just continue to add on to those that are already doing good work amongst each other. But I think we can there's more vibrations that we can take to the city. They can make it pop even harder for black folk.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But it's only going, like Cole said, people act as if two legends can't coexist. Like, nah, there's multiple legends. I believe everybody's a legend, but people don't be on that. But I do. But I mean, I'm gonna claim my legendariness.
Yeah.
So, like, nah, I think there's room for people to really all build amongst each other and grow together. Doesn't mean you have to work on every project together, but I think that the energy is effervescent, man. So, Minority Trailblazer Nation, we gonna show love. Hey, where can they find more information about what you do and who you are and all that things?
On Instagram, it's at Colton Palmer. Got my government. It's just ColtonPalmer. And then my business's website is Gold Group Incorporated. So it's goldgroupinc.com. And then we have a couple different things going on. Some things we're kicking off soon. Talk of RDU is a blog, that we're getting up and rolling that is gonna blossom into much more. But right now it's, talking about things going on, within the